Good morning. I'm Steve Wagstaffe, San Mateo County District Attorney. This is a special day. I'm pleased that you're here to join us for this. With me today are the San Mateo County Sheriff, police chiefs, command staff of our police agencies, our federal partners, the people who worked with us from Mountain View Police Department and other locales. Because what has occurred, and what I'm describing for you, is a joint collaborative effort over the course of the last 18 months at attacking a serious problem in East Palo Alto. Last week, after 2 months of grand jury proceedings, the San Mateo County Criminal Grand Jury returned 3 indictments charging 16 people with a series of crimes that included murder, attempted murder, dissuasion of witnesses, conspiracy to murder, drug trafficking, illegal firearms possession, a serious set of crimes that's occurring in our county. These crimes, which we're focusing on, became an investigation that lasted 18 months. As I said, it involved all of these law enforcement agencies behind me, and it became labeled Operation Sunny Day. The primary criminal acts, which were in these indictments of these 16 people, involved the following 5 primary acts of violence. First, on September 30th, 2012, the midday attempted murder shooting from a car on Highway 101 in Belmont. Then on October 5th, 2012, the murder of Chris Baker in East Palo Alto. On October 7th of 2012, the murder of Stoney Gibson at 3rd and Mission in San Francisco. On January 14th, 2013, the murder of Jonathan Alcazar in East Palo Alto. On January 16th, 2013, the attempted armed robbery at Plaza Jewelers in the unincorporated area of Redwood City. And on January 26th of 2013, the murder of Lamont Coleman in the city of East Palo Alto. The time frame for all of the crimes we have charged started in September of 2012, and the charged offenses run into December of 2013. The city of East Palo Alto had, going back 20 years, a serious violence problem. Through the work of East Palo Alto Police Department, multiple law enforcement agencies assisting, the support of the City Council and the citizens of East Palo Alto, crime in that town was significantly reduced. However, there was still this element of gang violence going on down there. Shootings, murders, attempted murders, drug trafficking that remained a plague on that city. Operation Sunny Day's focus was to impact that and attempt to eliminate it. The crimes that these people, as you know, I noted a moment ago, committed didn't relegate themselves simply to the East Palo Alto area. They moved into Menlo Park. As I noted, they moved into Belmont. They committed these crimes in unincorporated Redwood City and in San Francisco, all related to the same gang conflict involving 3 gangs. There was the Sac Street, which is related to Sacramento Street in East Palo Alto. There was DeVille, which is referring to an area of East Palo Alto called the Village, and the Taliban, a gang from East Palo Alto and Menlo Park. It was a unification of the Sac Street and DeVille gangs against the Taliban that these acts occurred in, this gang war that was occurring. Now, as everybody knows, in dealing with gang violence, it's hard to get witnesses to come forward. And these murders went unsolved for a long time. But with the support of the East Palo Alto Police Department and led by my office investigators, joined by every one of the agencies you see behind me, that included every single one of the San Mateo County police agencies, including 3 of our federal partners, in Homeland Security, the U.S. Marshal and ATF, and including assistance from agencies such as the Mountain View Police Department, Milpitas Police Department, and others. A 18-month intense investigation was forthcoming. During that time period, over 80 search warrants were authorized. During that time period, there was court-ordered wiretaps, court-ordered pen registers. The officers also relied on GPS data, cellular phone mapping, social media evidence, cell phone communication records, and what will never leave law enforcement, good old-fashioned, simply hard legwork and talking to people. I must give specific attention to two of my investigators, Inspectors Jamie Draper and Jordan Boyd. They were on this case from the beginning. They are the ones who created what turned out to be the seed for these indictments. They deserve full credit for leading this investigation with the support of all these agencies. Once these crimes were solved, after this 18-month investigation was ongoing, in January of this year, the beginning of January, this case was taken to the San Mateo County Criminal Grand Jury. During that time period of 2 months, easily 8 times over, the longest grand jury that's ever been conducted in San Mateo County history, the presentation of dozens upon dozens of witnesses, evidence presented. The grand jury last week returned these 3 separate indictments, indicting 16 people, charging those crimes. There are 4 separate murders that have been charged here. There are 2 separate attempted murders. There are countless other crimes of drug trafficking, witness dissuasion that have been charged and are being prosecuted. Of the 16 people, 11 of them are in custody in San Mateo County Jail right now. The other 5 are in custody in other jurisdictions and will be brought back to San Mateo County for this prosecution. Of the 16, 9 of them are charged with capital murder, murder formed for gang purposes. Those 9 include, and again, they will be, as Ms. Guidotti said, are posted here and will be in those CDs we give you, but Emmanuel Highland, Tyrone Love Lopez, Raymond Bradford, Roberto Bustos Montes, Eric Valencia Vargas, Marvin Ware, Nina Cragg, Miguel Rivera, and Jerry CONEAL III. The age range of these individuals we charged, 19 is the youngest, 28 is the oldest. This is a young set of defendants that was wreaking this violence upon our community. It is worthy of note that the grand jury that gave up 2 months of their life, those citizens, those 17 citizens, we are grateful to them. They listened attentively to the evidence, to all the witnesses, and indeed remarked to us afterward that it is stunning to know that this goes on in San Mateo County. Well, we are stunned, and this group behind me is doing something about it. Following this press conference at 11 o'clock, those 11 people who are in custody will be arraigned in the courthouse, not behind me, not the old one, in the new courthouse in courtroom 4A, in a special setting for these 11 individuals. The others will be brought to court as soon as they are brought back from those jurisdictions. I am grateful to the work that was done. I'm particularly grateful to Karen Guidotti, my chief deputy, because in addition to the 2 prosecutors, they were in court for 2 months, monitoring this massive case, easily the most massive case prosecuted by the San Mateo County District Attorney's Office in history. We could not have done it without the support of our law enforcement partners, and I am very grateful to all of them. Let me finish with this. I started my remarks by commenting about the fact that this operation was called the Sunny Day Operation. That wasn't picked out of the air. That came about because that term, Sunny Day, was what was used by these gang members when a murder that they had orchestrated, that they had directed, was successfully carried out. Their code word for it was sunny day. That was where the operation came from, name came from. And indeed, it is a sunny day today because these 16 gang member felons that have wreaked such havoc in our community are in custody and will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law that we're able to do. So thank you. What I'd like to do now is introduce to you for some comments from the sheriff and police chiefs in whose jurisdiction these crimes actually occurred, starting with Sheriff Greg Munks.
Thank you, Steve. Again, Greg Munks, Sheriff of San Mateo County. And I just want to take this opportunity to commend our District Attorney, Steve Wagstaffe, Karen Guidotti, the entire DA's office, and especially the investigators in the DA's office that put together this very complex case over a long period of time that affected a large part of our county. And I think demonstrated here today, standing behind me, the consolidated law enforcement community here in San Mateo County that is sending a strong message to these gangs that if you terrorize our communities, it doesn't matter how long it takes, doesn't matter how much resources we have to bring to bear, but we are going to come after you, we are going to put you behind bars, and that's where these folks are today. And I want to, again, commend the DA's office and all these agencies for coming together. That's what we do in San Mateo County. We have a very collaborative law enforcement community, and this illustrates it today. Thank you. Now the Interim Police Chief of East Palo Alto, Violett.
Thank you. Our local gangs are transient, engaging in violent criminal activity that extends beyond the boundaries of San Mateo County. No single law enforcement agency is capable of dealing with this challenge alone. The effort described by our District Attorney, Steve Wagstaffe, involving local, state, and federal law enforcement resources were essential for the successful handling of this case, such a complex investigation. I want to acknowledge my predecessor, Police Chief Ron Davis, who over a year ago committed the resources of the East Palo Alto Police Department to work on this task force. And I also want to commend Sergeant Jeff Liu of our Criminal Investigations Division and his team for the outstanding work that they've done in the support in this task force. In 2013, there were 8 homicides in the city of East Palo Alto. It is a proud city confined to 2.5 square miles. Too many young men have died violently, destroying families, leaving loved ones to grieve. These gangs cause families to live in fear, not allowing them to enjoy their neighborhoods. Our neighborhoods deserve a good quality of life. They deserve and should be able to expect a community without this level of crime, and they deserve to have a community like that of our neighbors. The disruption of these 3 criminal street gangs will help make our streets safer. Our work will not be done until there are 0 homicides and the complete elimination of violent crime. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Dan DeSmidt, Police Chief of the City of Belmont. As the District Attorney pointed out, one of the primary cases that began this investigation was a shooting that occurred on the freeway in the City of Belmont. A city that is not used to dealing with crime of that nature, of gang-related shootings. But we did. And I think it's important to point out that the area where these gang members opted to attempt this execution was a stretch of freeway between a sports complex and a residential neighborhood. An area where our kids play, an area where we live. And it really points out the fact that when the District Attorney came to us as law enforcement leaders with this idea of an investigation that would bring forth all of our resources, it was really important that all of the law enforcement leaders behind me didn't hesitate. We all set forth, we all committed every resource that we had. In the City of Belmont, our detectives worked tirelessly on this case. I want to point out Detective Sergeant Pete Lottie and Detective Mickey Thompson, who both worked tirelessly on this case to bring this conclusion that we find today. I want to thank the district attorney for his leadership in this case, the sheriff and the other police chiefs that are here, because without the cooperative nature of San Mateo County law enforcement, these types of investigations simply wouldn't be possible. I think it's also important to note that this should be something that those gang members should take note of, that we will not hesitate to bring forth all of our resources to keep our community safe. Thank you.
I also want to conclude this with making note that it wasn't just police agencies and the sheriff and our federal partners, but help was provided by the coroner's office, by the county probation department. They are behind us here today also. And I should also note that the individuals who did the work day in and day out throughout long nights are those men and women to my right, the investigators and district attorneys who carried this case for 18 months, and I am very, very grateful for all the work every one of them did over there. At this time, Karen, if you would come up, and she will take any questions if anybody has questions.
Can I answer any questions for you? As is typical of many gangs, it's a question of control, it's a question of power, it's a question of respect. And a lot of this violent activity was simply because of that. One gang slights another by offending someone, and then it becomes a cycle of retaliation. Other questions? All right. At this time, then, I will be handing out copies of a list of the indicted defendants, their crimes, and a CD with photographs of the indicted defendants on it. Thank you very much.
There you go.